Hey, welcome back to the Mark Moses Show here on a Wednesday as we're getting ready for another weeknight football game Thursday night at the Bounce House. UCF will be back at it, and I'm joined here to preview the upcoming game against Temple with Trace Trylko with Sons of UCF and Eric Lopez with Black and Gold Banneret. Trace, I'll start with you. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, getting ready for another weekday game. Isn't college football supposed to be a Saturday staple? UCF has now played on 4 different days of the week. Of course, the Hurricane Ian postponement to a Wednesday. Now they've got that space game on a Thursday against Temple.
Eric Lopez, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. It just to me it means we just got more sports spread out. So I'm a good, but I'm not one that has to make the juggling, shuffling schedules like Trace does with his regular work schedule.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, Georgia Tech was on a Saturday, and then was
Yeah.
the opener, was that on a Saturday? Is that
No,
it?
South Carolina
opener
State
was
was on
Thursday
a
night.
Thursday. Louisville was on a Friday.
Yeah.
So they've only had, well, no, FAU was Saturday. So they've had
Saturday.
2 games on Saturday, but only 1 home game in its traditional slot.
Okay, let's go back. And I'm happy we clarified that. Let's go back to last Wednesday. I'll start with Eric Lopez. What happened at halftime where UCF clicked? They started waking up and they started playing better football in that second half.
Well, I think you got a proven coaching staff in Gus Malzahn and Travis Williams that made some adjustments against a coaching staff in SMU with Rhett Lashley that, quite frankly, was a little inexperienced. I think the teacher kind of taught the student a couple of lessons there in that second half. Offensively, I think they just executed a little bit better, blocked better, made the slant pattern that SMU had no answer for UCF slant pattern passing, which opened up the passing game. John Rice Plumlee had a really good second half, and this defense was once again fantastic. Even in the first half when SMU was moving the ball, the red zone defense for UCF was solid. In fact, UCF's red zone defense is #1 in the country. So it was a complete effort, complete performance in the second half, maybe the best half they've had this year. The only question now is, can this team actually play 4 quarters like that? Because they haven't done that yet this year.
Trace, I believe you were at the game. What was it like in person when you see them, especially that third quarter, really wake up?
Wake up and, Eric said, winning all 3 phases of the game. Let's not forget the improvement this team has made on special teams. Colton Boomer in for Daniel Obarski. Colton Boomer now been perfect on field goals, and he's kicked some long ones, 40 plus. Daniel Obarski had not done that during his time with UCF. Gives the offense confidence that if a drive stalls, they can turn to their kicker. And how about punter Andrew Osteen, who was moved out of the way a couple of weeks ago? He comes in with some situational punting, a couple of coffin corner kicks that he nails, and the defense continues to be stout in the red zone. And I think simplifying the offense and allowing John Rice Plumlee to get more reps. Now, I don't want to become the talking points for Gus Malzahn, but he needs more reps at quarterback, and he's been getting these reps. Now, can he build on that with consistency and do it week in and week out, not have the up and down that he's had over the course of the season?
Do you have confidence? I'll stay with Trace. Do you have confidence in John Rice Plumlee after what you saw in that second half?
I have more confidence in John Rice Plumlee, but they still have a couple of road games at East Carolina, at Tulane, at Memphis. They've got Cincinnati at home. So these are tough games. I think he is performing better. I have hope that he'll continue to be consistent down the stretch. Doesn't mean he's not going to have up and down moments, but that defense, when they're not allowing more than 20 points a game, is going to keep you in all of these. And Gus Malzahn showed last year in tight wins over ECU, over South Florida, that he can win those tight games, especially if the defense does its job.
Okay, Eric, same question for you. I know this sounds like a political debate. Same question for you, Eric. Do you have confidence after what you saw?
I'll have more confidence if they take care of business against Temple, which they should. That's the thing I want to see on Thursdays. They should destroy Temple. So if they can do that and dominate from the get-go, then I'll gain more confidence. I think this team, because look, I think they have the ability to win this conference. I think if we've learned anything, is that the American Conference is down this year. I looked at Cincinnati struggling with South Florida. To me, UCF needs to make a statement this Temple game and say, hey, we figured it out. We're consistent. And it starts with Plumlee. You're right. Which John Rice Plumlee are we going to get against Temple? But I am a little more confident because I do think this defense with this schedule will be good all year and will give them a chance to win every game remaining on the schedule. But they need to show me against Temple that they're ready. I don't want to be at halftime thinking, oh my goodness, this is still a game. I'd rather this game be a blowout so I could focus now on the Bears-Washington NFL game, which I know you're going to be focused, Mark.
I know.
I know you are. Your beloved Bears, and then baseball playoffs going on. So we'll see. That's what I want to see Thursday as a domination, and then I'll gain more confidence.
Okay, on top of that, something we talked about last week, we're here with Eric Lopez and Trace Trylko talking UCF football here on a Wednesday. It felt like the receivers stepped up and started making plays as well. Eric, I'll go with you first. Did you see that? Finally, some wide receivers were helping out their quarterback.
They did. Javon Baker's been fantastic really this year. He's having a great season, kind of a Gabe Davis type of year. Gabe Davis really exploded. Ironically, when Dylan Gabriel was in his first year at quarterback in 2019, it was Gabe Davis that helped Dylan Gabriel. I feel the same with Javon Baker with JRP, but you had Kobe Hudson, who's now back involved in the offense, Gamble back in the offense. And I really thought Gus Malzahn did a nice job play calling the game. It was simple. I don't think you can overcomplicate things with John Rice Plumlee. There's certain throws he cannot make. He's not a guy, a quarterback that can make every single throw. But there are certain throws he can make. In particular, the slant pattern was something that was very successful go-to route for UCF. And it opened up the vertical passing game. I do think obviously Ryan O'Keefe, we know what he's capable of doing. He had a big game. Yes, I think the distribution was very good as well. So you're right. The passing game really kind of opened up. The receivers stepped up their game, and I thought they really had a nice rhythm and chemistry there with John Rice Plumlee that hopefully will continue.
Okay, Trace, I will go to the running backs for you then. Do you feel like we finally have a game plan how these running backs will be utilized as we go here into mid-October?
I think we've seen the emergence of RJ Harvey. I think Isaiah Bowser is going to do what he does, which is pound the ball. Not many touches for Johnny Richardson in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting how Gus Malzahn continues to utilize the running backs, but it looks like 2-3 guys are in the mix there most games. Of course, you have the caveat that John Rice Plumlee is going to run as well. You talked about wide receivers there. Yards after catch, those guys caught short passes and went long distances with them. So that was beneficial to him as well.
Let's go to that defense. You guys were talking about it. And I've asked this to multiple people, so I'll start with you, Trace. Who should get credit for the turnaround on the defensive side of the ball and what we've seen so far?
Head coach in waiting, Travis Williams. He is certainly a factor in that. Knights have been stout, especially in the red zone. Now they give up their yardage, right? They're going to let you move around between the 20s, right? But they clamp down. They've bent, they've not broken. Travis Williams and what he's doing, and that has been the standout story. But we went into this season expecting the defense to be strong, and I think we've been surprised with the linebacker play, which was a big concern going in. Still, the pass rush, some questions there that still need to be answered. But I'd say all in all, when you look over the body of work of a 4-1 start, you're happy with the defense.
Okay, Eric, same question. Who should get credit for this defense?
Trace is right. It's Travis Williams, who I'm starting to believe I could say this, that Travis Williams is the best defensive coordinator that UCF's had since Gene Chizik. When Gene Chizik was the defensive coordinator under Mike Kruzik in the late 90s, early 2000s. Trace remembers those years, those great independent years with Gene Chizik was able to work with there. I think he's that good. There's some questions whether UCF can keep him. I'm kind of concerned because I think Auburn's going to be open pretty soon with Brian Hartson. It doesn't look like he's going to survive. Does Auburn perhaps go after a Travis Williams and try to go under the Gus tree since it was successful or not? But he's going to get some offers. But he's done a phenomenal job. Think about, Mark, where this defense was prior to Travis' arrival 2 years. It was a disaster. And he's turned it around in 2 years, basically with a similar personnel. Yes, they have talent, but he has definitely got him into being a top defense to the point where some UCF fans are talking about, could this defense be ranked among the best UCF defenses ever? I think it's a little early for that conversation. I want to see more football and down there, but he's a fantastic coach, great personality, and really somebody that I think players can relate to. He's going to be a great head coach down the road, I think. It's just a question as whether that will be here or somewhere else.
All right, let's go to Thursday night. You both want a big win. Trace, I'll start with you. What are the keys to victory for UCF then?
There hasn't been enough fighting with Eric on this show. We agree about too many things. All right. More than a 25-point favorite UCF. So as Eric said earlier, the potential's there for a blowout. However, Temple's got a very good defense, and John Rice Plumlee is still a work in progress. Plus, there's disruption to their schedule. I know they say that their Sunday is their Tuesday and all of that, but there's still been disruptions in the schedule. And do you, as Cincinnati may have done as a double-digit point favorite over South Florida at home, do you look past Temple? Do you overlook Temple? And to Eric's fear, do you keep them in the game? I think you got to step on them early, right? They don't have the offense to hang with UCF. I mean, this is a weak offense against a strong defense. So that's a big mismatch in UCF's favor. You want to see John Rice Plumlee develop. So keys to the game, step on them early. Don't let them hang around. Don't let this be some sort of 13-10 game at halftime. Run the ball and give John Rice Plumlee the right play calls to make his day easier.
Okay, Eric, just completely disagree with him. Give us something else then.
They dominate. I'm not concerned about Temple. He's giving Temple too much credit. Maybe Trace is confused. He thinks we're talking basketball since the preseason polls come out. We're talking Temple basketball. No, this is football. All right, they're a basketball school. This should be a romp. And this is, I think, important to note. I know Trace is going to miss this game, because we're not going to have these type of games in the Big 12 next year where we're talking about, hey, is a team we're overlooking somebody. That's one thing that it's going to be different in about a year, is we're not going to have these, quote, 20-25 point favorite games like we have in the American. But they need to dominate this game, and I think they need to make a statement. Look, this game's nationally televised. This conference is begging for somebody to take full control of this league. And I think if you're UCF, this is a chance to make a statement to say, we're the team that can knock off Cincinnati. We're the team that can represent this league to New Year's 6. That's the standards here. That's, to me, what the statement's going to be about this Thursday. Plus, you're wearing a bunch of, space jerseys, nonsense going on.
I was going to ask you guys, do you like the new jerseys, the Space U? Trace, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm fine with the Space U concept and the space game and the unique helmets and the uniforms, and I'm fine with all of that once a year. But it's black and gold the rest of the year, okay? Let's keep the uniform simple. I know fans like it. It generates some media attention, and that's good. And fans bemoaning Thursday night games in the Big 12, maybe a lot of Saturday high noon games. There it is. Nice. There it is. Yeah, that's sweet. Now, do they have enough merchandise made available to fans who want to snap all that up? But I think fans are going to miss maybe some Thursday night games when high noon in the Big 12 and they're baking in the bounce house. So I agree. This should be a blowout. I'm just saying, do they take Temple a little lightly? Do they hang around? And, that's just my concern there.
Hey, you better copyright that. That's pretty good. Like, if you're coming to the bounce house at noon, you're going to be baking at the bounce house. That's pretty good, buddy.
Well, the one thing, though, and fans don't like those day games, but you got to use that to your advantage when a Kansas or a Kansas State comes to town and humidity's 107%.
Dude, I remember, was it 2019 when Stanford showed up for the early game? They just fell apart.
Pittsburgh as well, wilted. Yeah. And remember, we're going to have that disadvantage at UCF when they go on the road in October, November in colder places. So use the heat to your advantage. And right. But UCF fans will do what they do, and they will complain about that. But space game, good for UCF, good for the national exposure.
Eric, so you don't like the jerseys?
No. Why are we wearing carnival blue? That's not in black and
gold.
Canaveral. Yeah, whatever.
Canaveral blue.
Give me a break with that. Look, they do it because they want to sell jerseys, and there's a bunch of suckers out there that will buy it.
Suckers.
So, yeah, I mean, there's.
Did you pre-order yours and you haven't gotten it yet?
No, I'm not. So look, don't do it. I agree with Tracy. If we're gonna do this, just do it once a year. We don't need we are black and gold. I didn't come to UCF to wear blue. I wear it because it was black and gold. I didn't think space and all that nonsense. So we'll see what happens. But Trace is right. We are gonna get more noon games probably when we get to the Big 12. And it's funny, college football fans are the biggest whiners. They complain about start times. You know this, Mark. NFL games are at 1 o'clock. Do you hear anybody say, "Oh no, man, it's too hot"? 1 o'clock. The Dolphins-Bills game, which we both talked about a few weeks ago, they wore out the Bills because of that heat. It was a huge advantage for the Dolphins. And it's funny that in college schools, you see everybody's like, oh, I don't want to play in the early afternoon. When Trace makes a good point, that could be a big advantage. But, it's college football. We have to complain. We're the same college football fan base that complained because there was a split screen because, God forbid, they showed an at-bat of a baseball game with Aaron Judge.
Let me tell you something. From a programming standpoint, I know Wednesday night is not ideal for football. The whole country was watching that game last week. If you look at Twitter, every football fan was giving their thoughts on John Rice Plumlee and his performance.
Yeah, it did a good number. It did a good number. Although it lost to AEW Dynamite, I do need to point that out. AEW beat them in the viewership and television marks. So not everybody. A lot of people were watching the wrestling. Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson in a tag team double in the 3-year anniversary of the show. So I wouldn't say everybody, but yes, a lot of football fans were watching that night, Wednesday night, which is good exposure for UCF, and that is the positive. We've joked about, we go full circle about playing these Wednesdays and Thursdays. If this UCF Temple game was played on Saturday, it probably wouldn't even be on linear television. It would probably be on ESPN Plus.
I agree with that. All right, we'll end with this, and I appreciate you guys coming on. All right, you talk about the Big 12. It is a good conference. And not because of Oklahoma. And I never thought I'd say that, but it's it's so crazy. I mean, Kansas loses their quarterback. They still almost beat TCU. TCU's undefeated. Oklahoma State is undefeated. I'll ask this every time, Trace. I'll start with you. Are you excited to be going to the Big 12 next year for football?
Yeah, I mean, geographically, it's not the right fit for a conference for an Orlando-based team. But
geography in college football.
I know.
College sports?
I know. I'm just saying, geographically, you'd rather see yourself in the SEC or the ACC. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to face these opponents. And I'll tell you what, this year is setting up where UCF needs to be in that American Athletic Conference championship game, because that transition into the Big 12, when they face these big boys along the lines. I remember watching that BYU Baylor game a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, ooh, UCF would get pushed around a little bit by both of these teams. We saw what BYU did to UCF a couple years back in the Boca Bowl. So the recruiting's got to catch up to that. But these are going to be interesting games. And as Eric said earlier, UCF's not going to be a 25-point favorite, except in whatever FCS game they schedule to kick off the season. The rest of them are all going to be tight.
Eric, you get the final word. Are you excited for next year?
I'm excited with the potential with the sports and the different matchups. I think the fan base will be excited. I think it'll create more higher attendance, more interest, more viewership. That being said, you can make an argument that the Big 12 this year in football is the second best conference in college football. When you look at the depth of the league, I don't even know top of my head. Who's the worst team? Is Oklahoma the worst team?
Oklahoma.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty strong, all right? There's no Temples in East Carolinas. So you're right. There's going to be stronger competition. But I'm also going to use another word, scared. I'm going to be in a fetal position, boys, in basketball. Men's hoops is pick 6 in the American. That's the American.
Women's 8th.
Yeah. Can you name a women's basketball player? That might become a new trivia game on the Black and Go Banneret podcast this year. We're going to the Big 12, which is the strongest basketball league in the country that has hosted the last 2 national champions. I'm going to be in a fetal position during the basketball season while kind of with one eye watching this. Wow, that Kansas is great. I'm like, oh, this ain't good. So excited, but also afraid in the basketball front. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be exciting. The challenge is going to go at a different level for all UCF sports, especially in the football side, it looks like. And UCF better recruit, like Trey said, better, because they're going to need to, especially in the line of scrimmage, to compete in football.
Eric, what do we need to check out with your coverage for the game for Thursday night?
blackandgobanneret.com. There'll be a podcast out, and we'll be previewing the game and talk about some of the Olympic sports going on. It's a big stretch for the Olympic sports. Volleyball still ranked in the top 25 because I only broadcast teams that are in the top 25. That's part of the deal. All right, and then obviously we will be doing. Kyle Nash will be there with Andrew Glukoff, who will be foaming at the mouth over the jerseys. He might try to steal one. My goal during the game is to try to get Trace and Kyle to pick a fight on Twitter, and then we'll have night shift post game. After the Temple game on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow me at Eric Lopez Elo, and then of course blackandgobanneret.com for all your latest on UCF.
I can't see Kyle getting into a fight, but I could be wrong.
Especially with me. Come on now.
Trace, what do we need to check out with your coverage?
Well, because the game's on Thursday, our traditional Sons of UCF live show will be Wednesday night, streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube from 8 to 9. And you can catch up with Adam and Mike. They just dropped episode number 200 of the Sons of UCF podcast. Been at this for a number of years now. They rarely miss a week. So congratulations to them on episode 200. And watch us live. We'll preview. We've got a member of the media coming on to talk about Temple. We'll get to know a little bit more about them. So 8 to 9 Wednesday, streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Guys, thank you so much for your help, and have fun with the game on Thursday.
Go Space.
Always all fun, guys.